So thank you, Jordan. All right. Welcome to the April 26th Regional Growth Committee, Salt Lake West Valley City Technical Advisory Committee. Fairly full agenda. Jordan's going to put the agenda in the chat. She's so fast, she could beat me. First item on the agenda, what we'll do is we'll do introductions and then approval of the summaries from last meeting. So we've got a fairly efficient way to do this. Just run through every community alphabetically. So Grant, Prowl, easy for you. You're up front almost. You don't have to pay attention that close. But then we'll approve those summaries and jump right into the agenda. So anybody from Alta? Bluffdale.
Grant with Bluffdale.
Thanks, Grant. Brighton? Copperton? Cottonwood Heights?
We have a handful of people from Cottonwood Heights, so I'm going to call it out so all of us get on there. Mayor Wickers, do you want to go first? He may be unable.
Sam, I'm trying to do two things at once, unfortunately, so I'll let you go. Thanks.
Okay, great. We're glad you're here. Matt Ship, do you want to go?
Yeah, Matt Ship, Public Works Director, City Engineer, Cottonwood.
And then Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson, Community and Economic Development Director.
Great. And I'm Samantha DeSteelhorst, Senior Planner.
Thanks, Samantha. Draper? Immigration Canyon? Harriman?
Michael Malloy, Harriman City.
Thanks, Michael. Holiday?
Jared Bunch here with City of Holiday, Public Services Director.
Thanks, Jared. Kearns?
Shane Ellis here representing Kearns.
Thanks, Shane. Magna? Midvale? Mill Creek?
Benjamin Knoploch, Midvale Planning.
Thanks, Gwendolyn. Mill Creek? Murray? Riverton?
Matthew Castle, Riverton.
Thanks, Matt. Salt Lake City?
Joe Taylor in sunny Salt Lake City.
Thanks, Joe. Salt Lake County?
David Rogers, Salt Lake County Regional Development.
Thanks, David.
And Shane Ellis, Public Works Engineering.
Thanks, Shane, again. Sandy? South Jordan?
Jory, I think Brittany Ward from Sandy is here. She tried to unmute herself, but I don't think she has sound.
Okay. All right, Brittany, you will be noted. Looking around to see if she's on here. Okay. South Jordan. Oh, I see Brittany. South Salt Lake City. Taylorsville. West Jordan. West Valley City. White City.
Shane Ellis here for White City also.
Shane, you got so many hats on. Any UDOT partners?
Angelo Papastamas, UDOT Planning.
Thanks, Angelo. UTA? Our
Sure.
federal.
Sure, Chip UTA.
I think Shul. Federal highways? And a bunch from WFRC. So let me see if I can capture everybody. We got Hugh Van Wagenen. I'm Jory Johnner. Ted Knowlton, Megan Townsend. People are moving. Stop it. Jordan Chandler, Rosie Hernandez, Michaela Jordan, Andrew Gruber, Marsha White, Christy Dahlberg. Let's see, Andrea Pearson. I think I got everybody. Josh, I think we missed you with UDOT as I was scanning.
No worries. Yeah, I just went to, after Angelo, I went to UTA really quickly before I could chime in. So good morning, everybody.
Sorry about that. I'm just burning
No
through
worries.
this list. All right, and anybody else that was not on that call down list, feel free to unmute and introduce yourself.
Ryan Beck with Envision Utah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Michael Sheffield with WCG.
Thanks, Michael.
Chip with UDOT's on as well.
Oh, thank you.
I hopped on a little late. It's Kayla Malton with the Greater Salt Lake Municipal Services District.
Thank you. Oh no. What happened? All right. Sorry, I'm having some computer issues. There we go. All right. Well, that closes our introductions. Hopefully everybody received the February 15th, 2023 meeting summaries. If we could get a motion to approve those in a second, that would move us along quickly. Anybody have a chance to read those?
Motion to
Shane.
approve the proposed minute.
Thanks, Michael. Harriman. Did I get a second?
I second. This is Shane Ellis.
Thanks, Shane. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good. All right, Ted, item number 2.
Okay, thanks, Jory, and good morning, everybody. Nice to see your little Zoom square on my screen. Jory may have mentioned this, but Dina Blaze gives her regrets that she couldn't make it here today, our current chair of PlanTAC. You may recall, those of you that were in our last PlanTAC meeting, that we talked about the idea of having a chair and vice chair typical structure that rotates over time. And we all felt like that was a good idea. And so today we are going to, assuming we get nominations, select a chair and possibly select a vice chair as well. What you would be signing up for is a 2-year term of sheer bliss, acting as the chair of PlanTAC. And, you know, this is such a great gathering of planners focusing on shared interests in Salt Lake County. So it's a tremendous opportunity. What I'd like to do then is to just turn and see if there are nominations for chair to consider at this time.
Ted, you and I talked briefly at the Utah Leagues of Cities Towns about this opportunity. And I love the idea of introducing some of our future leadership to this larger community. I'd like to nominate Samantha Dieselhorst. She and I worked together when she interned here at Harriman. And I knew that she was a rising star among our planning cadre. In fact, we hired her and then we quickly lost her to her current position. She's just been doing great work, and she's very passionate about sustainability. I saw that recently she presented in a conference up at Weber State on sustainability. Anyway, so I would nominate her to serve as chair.
Thanks, Mike. And Samantha, I'll turn to you. Are you willing to serve as chair if that action passes?
Yeah, thanks for the nomination. I am willing and able.
All right, fantastic. Any other comments or nominations before we turn to a vote on the nomination? Okay, so all in favor of the nomination of Samantha Dieselhorst. And by the way, I didn't know how to pronounce your last name, so
it's actually it's the Steel Horse.
Okay.
So I'm going to make that correction just for the record now, but feel free to say it however. I'm very used to all of it.
Thank you. And I interrupted the motion. So all in favor, please signify with an aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Samantha, congratulations. And I think, Samantha, if you're willing, you can chair the rest of the meeting. I can finish the chair, vice chair, current action, and then you can pick up the reins and walk us through the rest of the meeting if you're willing.
Yeah, I've got the agenda pulled up, so I'll pick it up here on item 3.
Okay. Now we can select a vice chair today, or we can wait until another meeting if we need to. But are there nominations for a vice chair? And I will note that I wonder aloud, Michael, if you would be willing to serve as our vice chair and sort of queued up as the ensuing chair after Samantha's term. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. So what do you think?
If no one else is interested, I'd be happy to do that.
Hard to tell interest with the cameras off, right? Like I can only see Joe just eagerly, you know, a little bit of envy.
All right.
You're misreading envy there, Jory, but thanks.
Sorry. It was such a small screen.
Mike, I hope that doesn't put you on the spot, but are you okay with that nomination?
Sure.
I'm not sure that WFRC members have as much standing or full standing in the way that a local government representative does, but but anyway, let's just go ahead and put that to a vote. All in favor of Michael Malloy as the vice chair for Plan TAC, please signify with an aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion also carries, and so that's great. Samantha and Michael reunited, and it feels so. Okay, I'll stop. Samantha, I'll hand the baton to you. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Yeah, happy to be back to my roots here, working with Mike again. Let's go ahead and turn things over to UDOT to talk about our Utah Trail Network item. I think Josh Bandura, I think that's you.
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. So I apologize. As you can tell from my background, I'm currently sitting in my car in a parking lot with the location of my next meeting. So my time's a bit short. And to do everybody a favor, I'm going to go back to my picture because nobody likes the steering wheel cam angle. It's unflattering at its best. So I'm going to hide my video. So I think everybody is aware that last fall, Governor Cox and Carlos Braceras, UDOT's executive director, announced their vision for a statewide trail network. And of course, in the 2023 legislative session, Senate Bill 185 actually provided the funding to start making Governor Cox's and Carlos's vision into a reality. So as part of this, they within UDOT, we actually created a new group. So of course, we have our project development group. We have our planning group. We have each of our 4 regions. But we actually just created a new group, and that is called our Trails and Transit Group. And Carlos asked me if I would lead that up. And of course I said yes, because I was really excited about this initiative when it was announced last fall. A little about me, I'm actually a transplant, came from the East Coast. So the classic came for the skiing, stayed for the summer story. So yeah, I think I've had the opportunity to meet many of you. And if I haven't met you yet, I'm sure we'll have the opportunity soon. So under this new legislation, the SB 185, UDOT actually is going to receive 45 million per year in ongoing funding starting July 1st of 2023. And this fiscal year, we actually got an additional 45 million in one-time funding under the Active Transportation Infrastructure Fund. So this is actually a new fund, and it's the naming is unfortunate. So this is what we call ATIF, and this is for the Utah Trails Network. We also have a funding source called TIF Active. So it kind of depends on where you put the A. I know we're going to make a graphic to help clarify all this for everybody. But ATIF is the Utah Trail Network, which is what I'm working on. TIF Active is our nomination process that does have a community match component. So this is a different funding source. TIF Active is still out there and still available. But the Utah Trail Network is really going to focus on a more of a regional trail network. And this is, I say network, but it's really networks. So we want to connect to existing trail networks, community centers, parks, really so people can have an alternative to driving to their destinations. But also, I think we should remember that we need to provide safe transportation for those citizens who don't own a vehicle, so they too can have a safe way to get to the places they need to go, right? There's a lot of people that may not be old enough to drive. They might be too old to drive. They might have a medical condition that prohibits them from getting a driver's license. So it's not just people who need there's people that rely on active transportation. So we need to remember that part too. That's a huge thing for me. The other great part of this program that's a little bit different is that it can provide funds for future maintenance. And of course, it doesn't have a match component like the TIF Active does. So I know many of the people in the local governments here and MPOs have done a ton of work on their active transportation plans with their boundaries. And really, we hope that we can bring the regional components of those trail networks into reality with this funding. So we're going to need to work really closely together to figure out what's the right project at the right time in the right place. So that's a big thing here. And so figuring that out is really that first step. Staffing wise, we did receive ongoing funding to build a team of roughly 5 people to oversee this program. Because again, without the people, it's going to be really hard to be successful. And of course, we're going to work closely with all of UDOT's 4 regional offices and our other groups within our central offices, as well as stakeholder groups, and of course, all the MPOs. So this team will be responsible for the oversight, management, construction, and really the implementation of the Utah Trail Network. We are currently trying to hire a trails group leader. So we have some interviews set up in the next couple of weeks. So that's really exciting. And then obviously we'll bring that new successful candidate and introduce them to everybody as well. And then the other thing we're working on is developing a project prioritization process. And this is so we can rank projects, again, to make sure that we're building the right projects in the right places at the right time with this funding. And we hope to get this scheduled a couple years out, ideally 3 years out, so we can say when construction can happen, and really we can have a seamless continuation of bringing these projects to reality. The other part, of course, is we need a list of these regionally important projects as inputs into that prioritization model. And of course, we'll use the RTP and the unified plan as part of this, but I think we all need to remember that $45 million a year is a good chunk of money. So I would ask all of the people here to dream big too, right? I think a lot of people said, well, we may never get that much money, so let's not put that in the plan. But now that we have this money, again, let's dream big and get some of these new AT projects out there documented in plans. So again, it's not just the existing plans, but that dream big part. We're just setting up meetings. I mean, obviously this is one of the first ones with local communities to start learning more about these trails so we can develop this project list. And with that, yeah, I'm really excited about this new program and the opportunity to be involved in it. And in all honesty, I don't think this program's really ever going to be finished, because new areas are going to develop, new origins, new destinations. And I think we're going to continue to grow and connect these communities and all the people with them by other means than driving alone. And I think that's really important. So with that, is there any questions? And I apologize because I may not have a lot of answers because this program's only about 7 weeks in the making right now.
Got a few minutes here. We can take a few questions if anyone's got some preliminary ones for Josh. I'm sure we'll look forward to having more updates on future agendas, but let's take some questions. Hugh, see a hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh, Hugh with WFRC, and again, just really excited and looking forward to working with you. Appreciate everything you've said, and just to sort of piggyback on how the planning work on the active transportation side is young, and right, having new funding sources creates new opportunities and new funding amounts. And so, I think there's additional work that is coming, and WFRC and MAG are exploring a concept we're calling the Golden Wheels, which is based on the Wasatch Choice vision and all the center work that the vision is based around, and how to connect those centers up. So to your point, Josh, about getting people to where they need to go, right, between these employment and service and education centers without a car. So we're excited about that potential work coming forward. And again, just look forward to working with you and all of the communities that we work with to get some awesome projects on the ground, right? And then have this amazing backbone that people can build off of. And it's really, really exciting. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Hugh. Well, Josh, maybe we'll let you get to your next meeting, and I'm sure we'll have questions to follow up on as this moves forward, but thanks for being here this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'll stay on for a little bit until I actually need to walk into the next one. So I'll be here for a minute. It just might be hard to talk. But
Sounds
thanks
good.
so much for the opportunity, and pleasure to meet everybody.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Okay, let's head to item 4 now. It looks like Jory's going to give us some information on the 2023 to 2050 RTP.
All right, unmute. That's always important, right? As soon as I went to share screen, it moved things between 3 different screens. Thank you, Samantha and Josh. Good. I'm really happy you're in your position you're in, and it's been great working with you up to this point, and looking forward to future working with you. So regional transportation plan, hopefully everybody in this call has a little bit of familiarity with the plan, but by the end of this presentation, you'll have a better understanding of what the regional transportation plan is and our process to develop it and where we're at right now. So as a reminder, the Wasatch Choice vision ties economic development, land use, and transportation together. I'll be focusing on the transportation component, specifically the regional transportation plan today. The regional council, so our main board made up of elected officials and our transportation partners, developed and adopted the 10 goals you see on the right side of the screen here. And they range from livable and healthy communities, quality transportation choices, clean air, sustainable environment, etc. As we develop the regional transportation plan, and pretty much everything we develop at WFRC uses these 10 goals through our planning processes or programming. So keep that in mind as you work with us. Know that we're always have our eye on these 10 goals. The regional transportation plan is multimodal, so it includes roadways, transit, active transportation, so walking and biking. That's what we mean when we say active transportation, in coordination with UDOT, UTA, local communities. And you can see here, there's a variety of types of modes for each of within the plan, from arterials, freeways, core bus routes, bus rapid transit, and a variety of trails from, in-street to totally separated pathways. The RTP is developed on a 4-year cycle. It has a financial plan and is fiscally constrained. We have to meet the air quality budgets for mobile sources set by the state. And the plan ties to your future land use plans in the Wasatch Choice Vision, which I noted before. It's divided into phases. So each of these phases is about a decade long. And we use those for both for identifying when projects are needed and when funding is expected to be available between now and 2050. So the plan, this go around, the phases are 2023 to 2032, 2033 to 42, 2043 to 50. And then you can see there at the end, and I'll discuss this a little bit later in more detail. We have an unfunded bucket, I guess you can call it, of projects. We just never have enough money for all of our needs. One additional, I think, important piece on this slide here, you can see at the bottom that WFRC develops a transportation improvement program. And as Josh made mention, the state and others look to the regional transportation plan for priorities as funds are being programmed. So nearly all federal, state, and local transportation capacity funding sources look to the regional transportation plan. So this is why we use the technical advisory committee. We go out to workshops, et cetera, to get input, because it's really important we hear from our local communities and our partners as we develop this plan. This is the schedule for the last 4 years. If you were around about 3 years ago, we started looking at exploring external forces and policies. And those included things like connected and autonomous vehicles, telecommuting, micromobility, signal priority for transit, road usage charges, local street connectivity, to name a few. There were about 22 different forces and policies we looked at. We developed a draft project list needed by 2050, about a year ago or so. And then this last year, we've worked with you all to identify when these projects were needed. And then, as mentioned before, fiscally constraining the plan to the revenues that we assume are available. We just finished up our public comment period. And so now we're just finally kind of buttoning up the final documentation of the plan. During this last public comment period, we received, well, not just during this last process, during the entire RTP, we received about 3,200 comments during the entire process. And these came through the fall workshops where we invited all of your city staff, city council members, planning commissioners, elected officials, in consultation with UDOT and UTA at those meetings. We've utilized our technical advisory committees, not only for regional growth committee, but for the Transcom. We've held stakeholder meetings around the region, and through the public comment period, the official comment period, getting general input from residents across the region. I and the staff here at WFRC, we really appreciate all the input we've received. We think it makes a better plan. And we, appreciate our working relationship with our transportation partners, UDOT and UTA. At times, we're working with them on a weekly basis, reviewing comments, making changes, looking at data as we review these comments. As I made mention, we just came out of a public comment period following our January Regional Growth Committee meeting. During that meeting or during that comment period, we received about 1,600 comments. And as you would expect, it took us a bit of time to get through those. We don't have a big communication staff or you know, a whole separate group looking at those comments. So we had to get through those as we were still doing our normal work, but we're about to finish those up, and we'll bend through all the comments and have a new draft plan ready to be sent out about a week before the next upcoming regional growth committee. So expect that about, I think, May 7th or 8th, somewhere around there. We only had a handful of technical corrections that were made based on comments from you all or local or the residents, and we've coordinated with them. There were a handful in Bluffdale, Sandy, and at the point in the mountain area. So we've made those changes, and we'll provide a link here in a couple slides and look at those, but I'm not going to go into all the changes. We also made a handful of active transportation project changes based on comments, and then no changes to any transit. We didn't receive comments significant enough to make changes to the transit portion of the plan. We did receive, you would expect out of those 1,600 comments, significant interest in Little Cottonwood Canyon. And so we prepared FAQ, frequently asked questions, about the relationship of the RTP and the EIS. And you can see the link here on the screen. Jordan's also going to put that into the chat box. But if you want to look through that, it's got you know, about I think there's a couple pages worth of you know, just additional detail. But in summary, it just explains that WFRC as the MPO is required to include in the RTP all regionally significant transportation elements currently identified in an EIS or other NEPA environmental processes. So the MPO is then responsible for verifying that the RTP with the EIS elements included satisfy air quality and financial requirements. So if you remember on that first screen, those are two of our main things that we have to make sure: the financial constraint and air quality. And this is pursuant to federal regulations, legal guidance, and decades of consistent practices. This is something that we've done since I've been at WFRC for the last couple decades. So for Little Cottonwood Canyon in the 2023 RTP, we show all phases from UDOT's final EIS, which includes in phase 1, so the first 10 years, bus service, tolling, road widening, and just so you all, hopefully you know, or maybe you don't, $150 million from the state was identified to fund the phase 1 portion of Little Cottonwood Canyon. Phase 2 would include the avalanche snow sheds, and then phase 3, which is after 2043, would include the gondola. Just as a reminder also, RTP does not approve or provide funding for the gondola in the LCC, nor does it allocate future funds for the project. It just simply reflects the EIS at this point in time. You know, if the EIS for Little Cottonwood Canyon or any EIS changes, then WFRC and the RTP will make modifications to line up with those environmental studies. Looking on my screen, was there a comment or a question?
I think it just maybe someone's mic was unmuted, so I think you're good. Keep going.
Thanks, Samantha. So public comments are one component of our planning process, but you can see here through review of those external forces and policies I mentioned before, input from local communities, partners, stakeholders, review of our population employment projections, and utilizing the project evaluation process. We've changed our plan from 2019 to 2023 quite a bit. So on these maps, you can show, these maps show new projects, which were added in green, removed projects in yellow, updated projects in the blue, and then if a project had no change, it's marked in gray. And this is all the road and transit projects If we were to put all the active transportation projects on here, there would be a lot of more changes. And just so you all recall, our active transportation plan did not have a financially constrained component in the 2019 plan. So there would be a lot of updates because we didn't have a financially constrained plan for AT. But we did do that now. And we've made, added and removed and updated all the AT plan to kind of match your local AT master plans. So there's that. There's quite a bit of changes, and you can see, we've worked pretty hard, and the 2023 plan is not just simply a minor update to the 2019 plan. There's a lot of significant changes within the plan. So as we're currently developing the final RTP to reflect those changes, we have a new link here, wfrc.org/testing RTP final map. The testing piece will change, and we'll send out a link once this is updated. We'll have this version of the plan until the plan is adopted on May 25th. So I think Jordan's going to put that link in the chat. So if you want to go look through, if there's any errors or things that need to be questions you have, reach out to us. There are things that slide through the cracks, and we want to make sure that we've reflected the correct plan in our interactive map. That's been, I think, the thing that's been mostly used over the last 4 years in our plan. As I noted at the beginning, and you all know, there's never enough revenue for all of our needs. We have over $34 billion of needs between the three modes and just over $25 billion of revenue available. And you can see here, it's pretty consistent between the three modes on the gap or the unmet needs between those three modes. I want to cover just very quickly here, and then my presentation will be done, a few of the performance measures resulting from the plan in comparison to today, right? So as you can see here, today in a car or a vehicle, you can access, the average household can access about 226,000 jobs. And you can access about 14,000 via the current transit system. With the current plan, with the land use developing and the transportation component, that almost is 300,000 jobs via car, and it almost nearly doubles the transit accessibility to jobs. Which is about 16% of the accessible jobs for transit, and about 56% for active transportation. And in our plan will then almost nearly double the transit access, 33%, and then it jumps to about 80% of the jobs are accessible by a household from AT. Minutes driving per household per day drops. The amount of time you sit in a vehicle or on a transit mode is about 1 hour and 37 now. That drops to about 1 hour 32. So things are getting closer and more accessible in the future. And the vehicle miles traveled per household per day drops from about 66 to 60 in the future. All right, so we're still finishing up reviewing the comments. We're finalizing the document and appendices, so that'll be available here in about 2 weeks. We'll go to the Regional Growth Committee and Regional Council in May, looking for the adoption on May 25th at the Regional Council meeting. And then everybody here should put on your radar, we'll be developing the Unified Transportation Plan this summer. And this is a coordinated effort with the other 3 MPOs in the state and the rural part of the state that UDOT's developing the long range plan. I think I saw Jay Aguilar here. He's leading that effort. And into one Utah's Unified Transportation Plan. This is planned to be ready by September. And you'll see that plan come out then. So with that, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions if there are any. Samantha, or
yeah, thanks, Troy. We've got time maybe for 1 or 2 questions if anybody has them, or I would imagine, Dory, that folks can reach out to you through email if they've got questions as well.
Definitely.
Just scanning through the little tiles here to see if there's any hands. Ted, did you have something to add?
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. It's helpful if we could get a motion to recommend approval of this to the Regional Growth Committee, if somebody is willing to make that motion.
And Samantha, so this is Andrew. Can I say one thing also?
Please, yeah, go right ahead.
I actually normally don't even attend these meetings, but I wanted to join today because I wanted to express my appreciation from all of us at WFRC for all of you. This work that we do as an agency in developing the regional transportation plan is done in such close collaboration with all of you across the region, the planners at the cities and the county and UDOT and UTA and all of our other partners. So from all of us at WFRC, thank you for all of that great partnership that we have together. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. It's great to see you on here. So it sounds like we are ready for a motion if anyone's willing to make one to recommend approval of the RTP. Can I make motions as a chair? I'm happy to do it, but I'm not sure if that's appropriate for me to.
I'll do it. This is Mike at Cottonwood Heights. I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
Okay, we've got a motion. Second from anyone?
I second.
Great, got a second from Wendelin. Should we do, let's see, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, if any? Okay, sounds like the motion passes unanimously. Great. Well, I think we should move on to item 5, just so we leave enough time to cover some of these other updates, but I'm sure there will be questions that we'll reach out to you, Jory, with as needed. Let's turn things over to Michaela with WFRC to talk about some of our TLC awards and ordinance assistance.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to talk about this year's batch of awards, and moment here. All right, so we received or awarded over $2.1 million for TLC projects this year, with a local match of over $250,000. This will go to support 13 different awards, as well as 2 regional WFRC-led efforts. So I'm going to go through all of these awards, and a lot of the communities receiving awards are here today. So instead of listening to me describe all of them, if those who are here representing the community want to jump in and say a few words, then I think that would be really great to hear from you all about, you know, what this plan is going to do for your community. And I know there's some folks from Cottonwood Heights here, so we'll start with you. You have 2 awards, the Town Center Master Plan and a canal study.
Yeah, I feel like this is just a me talking show today. So I'm going to turn this one over to Mike Johnson, our Community and Economic Development Director. Mike, would you be willing to just share a brief overview of this project?
Yes, these are 2 separate projects. The Town Center one is for a site-specific master plan for a kind of an old strip mall property that's kind of seen its effective life run through. And actually the city's Community Development and Renewal Agency recently, just 2 weeks ago, closed on the purchase of that property. It's about 10 acres that the city will lead the redevelopment design process and then bid out to a development partner when it's all done. That will include kind of a mixed-use town center type area that's been envisioned by the city for a long time. So what the grant will help us achieve is public process to design this and hopefully take us right to be ready to bid out and find a development partner and really start redeveloping the site as soon as we can. So we're really excited about this one. The canal study is for a property, an area a little further west in the city along the East Jordan Canal. We have a city park that we built a portion of the trail along a couple of years ago, but the canal extends to the west and to the north. Provides a really good opportunity for recreation, but also for active transportation and trail connectivity through a very populated, established neighborhood in the city, where, you know, clearly it's a suburban community built around vehicles. So building out this trail would be a really great opportunity to connect that neighborhood to commercial areas and centers for people that don't want to or are not able to jump in a vehicle and drive there.
Thanks, Mike. We'll turn things back over to Michaela to talk about some of the other projects.
Awesome. Thank you both. I know we have Kayla from the MSD and representing Brighton here. So Kayla, any thoughts on the neighborhood nodes design plan up in Brighton?
Yeah, thanks, Michaela. Brighton is super excited about this project. So big thanks to WFRC for this award. This is actually piggybacking off of the Central Wasatch Commission's map study. Some of you maybe hopefully gave comments on that draft that was just released. So we're actually looking at land use and design, particularly around those mobility hubs, so that we're focusing land use and transportation together, and really helping to build the identity and sense of place for the Brighton community. The Brighton Loop, you know, is iconic, but kind of spreading out some of those historic assets and design characteristics to other parts of the community is something that this plan will focus on. And then finally, improving connectivity within each of these nodes and then connecting the nodes to one another. So super excited about these nodes and links in the traditional sense. Michael would be proud of me for quoting Kevin Lynch here, but we're looking forward to moving forward with this plan. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Kayla. Mm-hmm. We also have a North Temple Economic Revitalization Plan in Salt Lake. I know, Joe, you're here. Would you like to say anything about this one? If not, that's okay too. I can jump in. So this is going to be a really great plan.
Michaela, I think he was trying to say something, but his audio wasn't working. We couldn't hear you, Joe.
Well, I can just describe it, and then Joe, if you want to add any comments in the chat too, until your audio is working, or at the end, we can go back to you. This is a great plan that will unite existing studies and stakeholders in this area and provide a path forward, as it's a very rapidly changing area. It will include a needs assessment, community engagement, and strategies for implementation. And as you can see, it's a big east-west corridor between 215 and I-15 in a very key area of Salt Lake. Up in Perry, we have the Highway 89 Master Plan. This will occur with close collaboration with UDOT to address safety, bike and ped, land use sensitive design, and implementation strategies. In Morgan City, we're doing a downtown plan and design standards, as well as a parks and trails plan. This will be an integrated plan that includes development design standards and looks at the active transportation connectivity throughout the community. It will include some in-house support from WFRC as well. We also have the Draper River to Range Corridor Study. This will look at those connections for active transportation to and from the Point development, from the Jordan River and the Porter Rockwell Trail. So this will be a great opportunity to make sure that AT is happening not just throughout the Point, but to the other Draper destinations on either side as well. We have the Midvale Master Transportation Plan, and I know Wendellin's here. Would you like to say something about this one?
Sure, we are very excited about this plan and the award. Our main idea is to, first of all, of course, have a transportation plan, but to also have a very strong active transportation component, so that we can explore how the one interacts with the other and how we can find synergies with our, capital improvements program in the future.
Thank you. We also have the Mill Creek Master Trail and Sidewalk Implementation Plan. I know Francis is here as well. Would you like to say something, Francis?
Yeah, so thanks to Wasatch Front for helping us get another one of these cool projects that we're excited to implement. This will actually build off of efforts that we've done in the past where, we've identified, potential connections between centers in Mill Creek and hopefully look for ways to take advantage of our extensive canal network and try to make some east-west connections between the Jordan River Parkway and the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, which are called out in our master plan, in our general plan. We're also looking to really create a streetscape standard for our major corridors, not just in the city center, but up and down 33rd South, Highland Drive, 39th, 45th, 23rd East, and the like. And we're excited to move forward on this plan.
Great, yeah, and this is cool also because it's building upon the Mid-Valley ATP, which is a TLC project as well. Really diving into the details, and we're excited about this one too.
And the
we also have
order study too, so that was yours as well.
Yes, definitely. Next, we have South Jordan Shields Lane Solutions Development Study. We have someone from South Jordan here. Okay, so this is an assessment of land use, trail connections, destinations, traffic data, and transit connections along this corridor, which you can see on the map includes 3 different schools, as well as the Jordan River Trail, medical facility. So there's some really important destinations here. And the goal is to develop context-sensitive and multimodal solutions. We also have the West Jordan Safe Street Study and Implementation Plan. Is there any folks from West Jordan here? I didn't see any. So this is a study to propose context-specific long-term solutions to increase street safety and promote traffic calming. And it will not only include like the study and recommendations, but also supplemental resources that can help promote implementation of these measures. We have the Davis County Active Transportation Plan. This will unify the various community, city ATPs in Davis County to develop a regional high quality AT network throughout Davis County. We also have the Holiday General Plan update with some really innovative elements in data visualization. Holiday, would you like to speak to this?
This is Jared. This is part of our planning department, which is not on with me, but I think it would be helpful if you have a write-up of this to describe it yourself, and then I could add in a few additional points.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So this is a really cool general plan update as it includes, all of those generally required elements, but also some very innovative elements like alternative energy and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Will also include a very web-based interactive display and some dynamic story maps and visuals to really keep this a living and updatable general plan.
And we are looking at updating our active transportation. It's been outdated according to the new regional mapping that's been done. So we're excited to update our biking and pedestrian pathways as part of that plan, as well as things like our low income housing. So there's a lot to do.
Yeah. And that's exciting too, to consider all of those updates around the same time and really be able to coordinate them. We have finally the last one for this year, the Layton Long Range Economic Development Plan. This will be based in data as well as Layton's vision, and it will produce a graphically rich long-term plan for economic development in Layton. So As I mentioned earlier, we're also providing 2 different WFRC-led regional opportunities this year. One is we'll be updating the form-based code template. And the second is a new opportunity regarding ordinance assistance, which after I pause here, I will talk about. And if you want to look at any of these projects in detail, as well as past projects, you can go to wfrc.org/TLC and go to our interactive map. And we also just released our TLC annual report card, which is a great summary of the program over the last year. Are there any questions about TLC in general before I move to ordinance assistance?
I wonder if there's interest from the committee at a future meeting in talking through the needs that might be addressed in the form-based code template update. But I just want to see if there's interest on the committee for that. All right, we'll noodle on it.
Okay, so I'll jump into talking about ordinance assistance. We're really excited about this opportunity. I know all the planners in the room know that changing ordinances or writing new ordinances can be very daunting. There's going to be a question of, where do we even begin? And so this program aims to help jumpstart local ordinance changes and updates. WFRC staff will provide assistance to our member communities to implement planning goals through local ordinances. This can look like identifying barriers or conflict points, can look like identifying opportunities or areas of clarification, and it can look like recommending updates or modernizing according to best practices. Part of this will include technical review, not only from WFRC staff, but also by what we're calling a sounding committee. These will be land use professionals with extensive ordinance expertise. And if desired, the community's identity can be removed from the ordinances while they're reviewed. I know that's important to some communities. And this is a really cool opportunity to understand how professionals such as a private sector planner, a developer, an architect, and other land use professionals would interpret your codes with the idea of strengthening them and really helping the communities achieve what you want out of your ordinances. Example opportunities, there are many different ones I'll share to you right now. Say a community wants to promote walkability and bikeability. You might ask us, what do your street network requirements look like? And we can see, do you have street network requirements? What could street connectivity look like in your community? If a community aims for an activated neighborhood center, but you're noticing some issues with parking, you might ask us about your parking requirements and have us look at those. What do they look like? Is it overparked, underparked? And how do the land uses and the streets interact with regard to parking? So to receive assistance, you can apply on our website. You navigate to wfrc.org, then programs. It's on the TLC page. You'll find a one-pager with more information about the program, as well as some additional examples of potential projects. You'll find an application link. This is in the format of a Google form. And so applications will be accepted and reviewed on a rolling basis, and we'll be accepting them based on staff capacity, as well as how the proposed ordinance opportunity promotes the Wasatch Choice vision, as well as the goals of the TLC program. And perhaps most exciting part for some communities is that this will be provided at no cost, so there's no matching requirement. This program aims to help jumpstart, after being awarded, WFRC staff will set up a meeting with you to discuss your ordinance assistance needs and goals, collaborate on a scope for the assistance, and begin the work of reviewing and recommending. So the application is currently live. You can find information and links in the latest WFRC newsletter, as well as on our website. And you can contact me with any questions. We're really just hoping this will be helpful. And as it's starting out, we'll be adaptable and and see how we can really utilize this to aid your communities in implementing your general plan, goals, and visions. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Michaela, for that update. It's really a lot of fun to see all the projects that everyone's working on. It gives me a lot of action items to follow up on, just to see if we can kind of coordinate with some of these neighboring communities to Cottonwood Heights. And those ordinance support options are awesome. So reach out to Michaela if you have any questions. And let's go ahead and move to item 6 here, growing water smart in Utah. And Chelsea Benjamin, would you introduce this one to us?
Hi, everybody. I'll share my screen and then get started. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that. Great, see some nods, excellent. Yeah, great to see everybody on the call this morning. I see some familiar faces in the videos, which is great. I was invited here along with my colleague, John Bergeron, today to talk about what it means to grow water smart in Utah and talk a bit about water policy in the state. I'm a water policy fellow at Western Resource Advocates, and my colleague, John Bergeron, is the senior regional water policy analyst. I'll pass it over to John to give some background first.
Yeah, thanks, Chelsea, and thanks everyone for having us today to talk about the Growing Water Smart program. Just to give a little context, because I think a bunch of folks on the call have at least heard of this, was we've been working for about 4 years now to bring the Growing Water Smart program to develop it in Utah. And a part of that was an early collaboration with WFRC and working with Ted and others. And we actually had planned an initial one-day workshop to kind of get the program going, and that was planned for March of 2020. So that unfortunately did not happen. But since then, a bunch of efforts have been underway, and we've developed this Growing Water Smart program. And we're here to talk about the program, the workshops associated with it, and then I'll give a little background on integrating water and land use planning, which this is all about. And this is actually, the agenda worked out well. This is a good follow-on of Michaela's presentation on the last part of Michaela's on ordinance assistance, as that's part of this program as well on the water side. So like Chelsea said, we're with Western Resource Advocates, nonprofit. We work in these 7 Western states on a variety of land, energy, air, and water issues. Chelsea and I are both on our Healthy Rivers team. If you want to go to the next slide, Chelsea. And so this whole Growing Water Smart program is to help Utah communities integrate their water and land use planning. And there's a bunch of reasons why this is an important topic, and focusing on the integration of these 2 planning processes can really help communities when it comes to water resiliency. Historically, both water and land use planning have been siloed, where the planning happens in one room, water happens in another room, often in completely different agencies or different departments, leading to inefficiencies, not by design, but just by the fact that the 2 processes haven't historically been integrated. And one of the big benefits of integrating them and bringing them together is you can reduce the water demand of new development. So, many Utah communities are going pretty fast, and water supplies are finite. And so by integrating your water and land use planning, it says nothing about growth. All it does is say what the growth that does occur can be much more water efficient by bringing these 2 processes together. And because land use planning is a local control thing, each community can do this at their own direction, what they want to focus on when it comes to water and land use planning. And ultimately, this helps you increase resilience to drought, as we all know, is pretty significant despite snowpack this year, and climate change as well. So this is just an important process to help communities become more resilient. Next slide. And so I'm not going to go through this whole thing here, but just to say that when you integrate your water into land use planning, you can do it at any step of the way. So as folks know, planning goes anywhere from your high level planning and policy making, so your general plans, your CIPs, your water efficiency plans, to your pre-development, to development review, to codes, ordinances, regulations, to your building and construction, and even post-occupancy. And so when I say communities are able to figure out how they want to integrate water and land use planning, this slide just shows you that you can decide to do it anywhere you want. You can do it at all these steps, at particular steps. There's many examples and many opportunities to bring your water into your land use planning processes. And as I mentioned, you want to go to the next slide, Chelsea. Integrating these processes are important for water resiliency, and when thinking about what that means for Utah, as everyone on the call knows, we're facing significant drought issues. And one of the best way it manifests itself is with the Great Salt Lake and declining levels there, and becoming more water efficiency by integrating water into your land use planning. All the communities can help the challenges of the Great Salt Lake. And importantly, even with the snowpack that we've seen this year, and concerns around flooding, and actually I was just reading that the percentage of Utah in drought is down in the single digits, which is great. Integrating water and land use planning isn't just for drought resiliency, it's for overall water resiliency. And so bringing those two planning processes together helps with things like flooding, stormwater, in addition to drought and supply and demand issues. And so there's a whole host of reasons it can really benefit our communities in Utah. And this is something that has caught the attention, and the state has put a lot of effort behind. If you want to go to the next slide, Chelsea, in 2021, Governor Cox had his drought declaration and had 4 strategies for the state to deal with drought. And one of the 4 strategies was this exact topic of integrating water and land use planning. And then at the legislature, there's been a lot of efforts, as I'm sure folks are well aware, of ways to help with the drought and Great Salt Lake issues and water conservation. 2 of the ones really relevant to this work last year, SB 110, which now requires communities to include a water preservation element into a general plan. And then SB 118, which sets up a statewide turf replacement program. People can apply for $3 a square foot for turf replacement if their community has adopted a water efficient landscaping standard. So those are 2 examples of integrating water and land use planning, putting a water preservation element in your general plan, and then adopting water efficient landscaping standards for new development are great examples. And then this is just to show that the state now has some requirements and incentive programs to help communities do this. If you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'll take it over here, John. Another example of how the state is supporting communities to grow water smart and integrate this into land use planning is by funding the Utah Growing Water Smart workshops that John mentioned we've been a part of putting together in the state. They helped fund these workshops. We applied for the funding and got the go-ahead to start organizing these workshops here in Utah. And the Growing Water Smart program has been successful in Colorado and Arizona so far. It has a number of years of success so far, and we're really excited to have brought it to the state of Utah. We held the first workshop this past November, and we had 5 city and county teams participate. And we're really excited. We have the next workshop coming up in June. We'll have 7 teams participate. Some people from those teams are here on this call today. I see Samantha Hay from Cottonwood Heights. Really excited to work with your teams. And we hope to hold these workshops 2 times per year moving forward. At the first workshop, we had representatives from Weber County, Summit County, Layton City, Sandy City, and Provo City. We had 42 community leaders participate, and those 5 communities represent about 18% of the state of Utah. So about 18% of residents now live within a jurisdiction that is considering water and land use together. The workshop itself takes place over 3 days. We bring together 5 to 7 community teams of 5 to 7 participants that include planners, water managers, and elected officials. These groups go through a facilitated process and attend a series of informational sessions, and come together in team work sessions over the 3 days. And all of these sessions build up to the creation of a 12-month action plan. So participants examine where their communities are in terms of water and land use integration now, decide where they would like to be, and then develop a plan to get there. In addition to going through the workshop and talking through all of this, communities that complete the workshop are eligible to apply for follow-up technical assistance, either with our partners that help implement the workshops or to reach out to outside contractors that can help them implement some part of their action plan. So it's a really great system to get people inspired, planning, and then go out and do the work to implement water and land use in their communities. All workshop participants receive a Utah Growing Water Smart guidebook that gives some background on what's going on in the state and different strategies for implementing water and land use. There's also a long list of appendices at the end that give tons of resources for communities to apply for funding, get information, and we really hope that this is a great resource for those communities. And we also have it available on our website. And I will put links to this and all of the other resources I'm about to mention in the chat, so that if you're interested, you can take a look. Also have 4 other resources for you to take a look at if you're interested. WRA has put out a guidebook to integrating water efficiency into land use planning across the West that has very specific ideas for local planners to implement water into land use planning. The Babbitt Center has a guide specifically about incorporating water into comp planning, which is extremely useful to communities in Utah that are working on implementing SB 110 that John mentioned earlier, integrating water into your comp plans. WRA, we also have a guide to designing conservation-oriented TAC fees. These are really great strategies for incentivizing developers to install water-efficient landscaping from the start. And finally, there is a guidebook from the Sonoran Institute, which developed the Growing Water Smart program. They have this guide to Growing Water Smart metrics, where your community can evaluate where you're at in terms of integrating water and land use right now, and strategies to work towards implementing more. And specifically for SB 110 implementation, there's the Babbitt Center guide that I mentioned on the last slide. I'll put the link to that in the chat. There's also a presentation from Aaron Rugland, who created that guide that we recorded for our Growing Water Smart participants. And I'll also put a link to that in the chat, or you can click on this if you're looking at the slides later on. And she goes over very specific detail of what Utah communities should look at when they're implementing SB 110. And finally, Nick Yeiter is a water conservation specialist at the Department of Water Resources, whose job is specifically to work with communities that have questions about implementing the SB 110, integrating water into their comp plans. So he's a really great resource to reach out to if you have any needs for technical assistance from the state, any specific questions. And I'll also include his email in the chat as well. And thank you all so much for hearing what we've been working on here in Utah. If you have any questions and would like to reach out to us via email, I've included our emails on this last slide. There's also the email for the Growing Water Smart program, and our website has more information about that. Application rounds are currently closed, but we will always have more information coming up about future workshops, and would love to see some more communities there if you haven't already applied or participated.
Thanks so much, Chelsea, for going through that. If you would be so kind as to add your email into the chat box, I would imagine that there will be folks who want to learn a little bit more about those resources. Having used some of those WRA documents in the past, I can attest to how helpful they are. So appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Great.
Just to keep us moving here to make sure everyone gets to share their items, I'm going to go ahead and move us to item 7, which is the transit signal priority item. Lauren Victor from WFRC, do you want to introduce that to us?
Yeah, so I have our project manager with the consultant, Michael Sheffield, on the call, who will be giving a presentation on transit signal priority. So we've kicked off a project. We're working with MAG, UDOT, WFRC, and UTA on this. And so I'll just hand it over to Michael to kind of go into the background and context of this.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Salt Lake West Valley Plan TAC. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is a great collaborative effort among several WFRC, MAG, UTA, and UDOT. I'll go over briefly just what transit signal priority, or TSP, is, provide a little background and the benefits and impacts, and then the purposes of this study. So transit signal priority is an operational strategy that facilitates the movement of transit vehicles through a traffic signal controlled intersection. And essentially it provides extra green time to transit vehicles, and it modifies the existing signal timing as the bus is approaching to either extend the green, make the green last a little bit longer, or provide green a little bit earlier, just to help get that bus through and minimize the delay at the intersection. Ideally, signals are coordinated along a corridor so that when a vehicle is traveling down, they can hit green lights, multiple green lights in a row. This is ideal, and it's certainly harder than it looks. But the problem with buses is that when buses are traveling down a corridor, they have to frequently stop to load or unload passengers. And they leave kind of that progression band and can hit red lights and then have to wait before they can continue on. So what this example does is a green extension. You can see that the green is extended just a little bit longer for the bus to make it through. And those time savings at a specific intersection are cumulatively much greater as the bus travels along the corridor. And we've seen great and positive impacts from this. In Utah, this connected vehicle transit signal priority system is currently operational on 2 routes, Route 217 along Redwood and UVX, which is the bus rapid transit line in Provo-Orem. And we've seen substantial and meaningful improvements in on-time performance. Route 217 has improved its on-time performance, schedule adherence by over 10%, and UVX over 6%. The average travel time improvements were a little bit more modest, but what we saw were significant reductions in the travel time variation. In other words, those uncommon times of day when travel times are much greater than normal, the frequency of those very large travel times were reduced. So this improved schedule adherence and more consistent travel times is what we've seen firsthand here in Utah, and conforms to some of that national literature. But it improves the quality of service along these routes, something that's critical as transit is looked to as a desired mode of transportation that can more easily compete with the automobile, and it makes it just a more favorable, more desired mode of transportation. As a whole, this transit signal priority system is as part of a larger connected vehicle ecosystem here in Utah. To date, UDOT has deployed 334 roadside units. These are radios at the side of the road that enable some of these applications to occur. And 282 of them are at signalized intersections, capable of granting TSP and preemption. They've also deployed on 230 vehicles, 69 UTA buses, 66 snowplows, 20 emergency vehicles, and 75 other fleet vehicles. In addition to transit signal priority, TSP, and preemption, there are other more safety-based applications that UDOT has worked to develop. Curve speed warnings and icy road alerts can be received by these equipped vehicles. These are more safety-oriented. So if there is ice on the road, if vehicles are slipping on the road, then alerts can be sent to other vehicles saying, hey, careful, slow down, vehicles are slipping up ahead. Many of us may have seen those videos of winter storms where you just see a pile up and car after car after car just keeps crashing in, and equipping and having this deployment out there would help mitigate that among many other things. So the long-term benefits of the connected vehicle ecosystem and deployment will improve safety and reduce crashes. Here's a map of the Salt Lake Valley area, which more aligns with the geographic area covered by this plan TAC. And you can see the existing deployed RSUs with the map of UTA bus routes overlaid. So there's a great opportunity here to expand this transit signal priority and other applications. For this regional TSP deployment guidebook, we recognize that the full potential of connected vehicle technology is still being discovered, and this project, this deployment kind of is a blend of two of those external forces that WFRC explored with that RTP, connected and automated vehicles and the high-tech transit. The benefits from TSP and preemption have been proven and are available now, despite some of the unknown additional benefits that are still forthcoming. And to have effective TSP implementation, it requires a shared long-term objective and strategy among all the players, among regional, state, local agencies, and UTA. So the final product of this project will be a deployment guidebook that will help you as cities, understand this existing TSP system and connected vehicle ecosystem to prepare for TSP implementation in your community, to gain insights into future benefits from connected vehicle technologies and provide insights in how to develop partnerships among state, regional, and local jurisdictions. So with that, thank you. And I put contact information for Lauren and myself, and feel free to reach out to us with questions, or especially if you want to engage in some of the development and understanding and participation in this work, we'd be pleased to include you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael and Lauren. That's a unique project that I haven't ever heard much about before, so I'm excited to continue to learn more about it. Before we hit our final item, does anyone have any questions or comments on this project? Want to make sure we're trying to give a little bit of time for any questions you have. Okay, well, feel free to obviously follow up with these folks if you do have questions. We have reached the other business item on our agenda. I received a note that we may have an update from Kayla Malden with MSD on a federal grant item. Kayla, is that something you wanted to quickly touch on in this part?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to let you all know on Kern's behalf that they were selected for the Thriving Communities program. This is the first time that program is being run from the U.S. Department of Transportation, and we're super excited. It's going to give the community 2 years of technical assistance to basically help prepare all of their federal grants for big transportation projects. So I just first off wanted to thank WFRC and Michaela Jordan in particular for encouraging us to apply and being willing to partner on that grant. We also have some local organizations that went in on that. And we're hoping to use it to really look at some solutions in our community related to state highways. So we have 5400 South running through, basically splitting Kearns into north and south halves and going through our town center area. And then we also have the Union Pacific Railroad track that splits Kearns in half east to west. So we're dealing with some huge transportation barriers that this will help us address. So anyway, again, we're just really excited. And my hope is that as we work with these partners and go through this process, we'll be able to share some insights with you guys that can help with all of our applications. So thank you again.
Great. Thank you so much, Kayla. That's a fantastic update. And thank you, Michaela, for coordinating on that. Well, we're right at the end of our time here. Just wanted to put out kind of a general question or request that if you have any items that you'd like to see on a future agenda on these quarterly meetings, just reach out to, I would say, myself or the WFRC staff who really does the lion's share of facilitating these meetings. I definitely want it to be relevant to the region here. So with that, let's go ahead and move to adjournment. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion from Michael Malloy. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. We are adjourned. Thanks everyone for being here. We'll see you in a few months.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks.